Jim Knight, Member of the House of Lords, Chief Education and External Officer at TES. I do a few other things. I was once the Schools Minister.
Jim, how would you define teacher wellbeing?
Teacher wellbeing for me is, to an extent, it's just whether teachers feel good about themselves in the profession, good about themselves at work, feel like they've got the right work-life balance, they're not overly stressed. A certain amount of stress is a good thing, but not so much that you want to leave the profession, and at the moment they're leaving the profession, particularly in the state-maintained sector, in droves. You know, ultimately, the quick win is to dial down the heat on test preparation, test scores, tests as being the be-all and end-all for schools. It's not a great preparation for anything other than passing more tests. Well, over the long term, we need to look at what's going on in the economy and the society as a whole. You know, we have high levels of teacher stress, but we have high levels of learner stress, and we have to reflect back into our education system the changes that are going on through a fourth industrial revolution. So that means saying, can we ultimately engender a love of learning in every child? I think accountability for teacher wellbeing has to be mixed. In the end, we are all responsible for our own happiness, and so teachers have a share of that, and to an extent they take on that responsibility, and many of them are voting with their feet and leaving the profession. So then there is a responsibility for school managers, who themselves are stressed, who themselves are suffering workload, for whom, you know, there is a difficulty in recruiting too, because people look at that and go, I don't want to go there, I don't want that workload and that stress. So, but they need to take some responsibility for that, and making sure that they are aware of the challenges and the workload stresses and the unhappiness of teachers, and then bringing in training and CPD, not just about skills and knowledge and test preparation, but around well-being, around productivity, around how we can help give people some life back. There's a responsibility for policymakers. You know, it may be that a whole bunch more financial resource, more money, can help, not just through pay, but through being able to increase and diversify the school workforce, so that you can effectively relieve a bunch of workload for teachers with not having to teach quite as many hours, so that they can prepare and learn from each other and adopt professional behaviours more easily than they can at the moment.
On a more granular level, what do you think should be within a school's teacher wellbeing policy?
I think within schools, clearly they already have pastoral leads for children. I think it would be interesting to see how pastoral leads for teachers might work. Now, there'll be some pushback against that idea, but I think it's a fundamental function of HR in any business that they have a responsibility to the workforce and the well-being of the workforce. And, you know, bolstering some of that HR function, partly to improve recruitment and retention, which is in crisis in schools at the moment in England. Secondary schools, not primary so much, but secondary. But partly to take ownership of this issue and look at how really rare talent, you know, and a maths and a physics teacher is pretty rare talent these days, how that talent is properly nurtured across the system.
What role do you think CPD has within teacher wellbeing?
I suppose I have a general view, which is you improve teacher wellbeing by teaching the respect and esteem that we as society have for teachers, and that you do that by raising their professionalism. It's one of the reasons why I welcome the new College of Teaching. But professionalism, I think, is about a combination of skills and knowledge, of learning from each other, of teacher community, and trust. And if we can build that sense of not only CPD being about building your skills and knowledge, but being about creating learning communities of teachers so they can learn from each other and really embed peer-to-peer learning as part of professional practice, then we can also build trust in that profession and do things like take away the national curriculum. And there's a virtuous circle to be created there, which then makes people feel valued, then means that there are fewer politicians going on the Today programme slagging off teachers. And we as a society could start to move to the sort of the promised land of where they are culturally in Finland, where if an aspirant parent is told that their child is going to be a teacher, that's a fantastic result for them. We don't have that here. We're a long way from that. Ambitious parents might want their kids to be doctors and lawyers and architects. I'm not sure that's the case for teachers, and we've got to change that. This has got to be the highest valued job in terms of yes, to an extent in pay, but that's not how you measure things in a proper culture. It's about how we look up to people. It's how we respect them. It's what we want for our children.
What role do you think technology has within teacher wellbeing?
Technology can go in a dystopian or a utopian direction. The dystopian route is one where teachers burn out more and more. We have a catastrophic crisis in not enough secondary school teachers, and at the same time we've kind of worked out a sort of manual that rigidly follows a textbook and a way of teaching that is essentially an algorithm. And you could program robots to do that. And essentially we're treating teachers like robots in some of our schools and setting them up for that dystopian future. That appalls me. But I'm excited about what technology can do in the utopian choice, which is enhancing teachers. It is breaking down what teachers do into its components and saying, well, these elements can be replaced by smart technology, by AI, by blockchain, by some of the exciting technologies that are emerging. And then that leaves the fundamental human-to-human interaction informed and enhanced by all of the insight that the technology can give you, but leaves you to focus on that, leaves you to look someone in the eye and see their engagement, and see whether or not they're learning, see if they're struggling, see how you're helping them deal with when they make mistakes so that they learn from those and don't make the same mistakes, make different ones next time. And that's exciting. That can make teaching, it needs to be the first choice profession for our smartest people, and it could be if we make it manageable in that way.